So you can see here that we are logged into our S3 console and we've got our bucket. So let's just review a couple of settings here real quick. We've got our default encryption settings that are applied to all new objects as they are written to the bucket. And we've got server-side encryption is enabled using the SSE KMS method with a customer master key that we have specified. So now if we come back over here, we take a look at some objects that we've got in here, and sure enough, this file is following the default settings. And if we come back to our objects list, take a look at this other file. Oh, this one is different. It's using the SSE S3 method. So somebody came in here and changed the properties on this file to use an encryption setting that does not agree with our policy. And so how can we fix that problem? Back over here on our bucket, we can go to the permissions tab, and we can use a bucket policy. Now, we could use the policy generator to try to reduce some of the typos that happen when you're trying to write JSON. If that's not your first language, and you're trying to write a policy in JSON, you're going to end up with some what just happened moments. But bucket policies and IAM policies in general, they're difficult to get right. If you take one of the examples straight off the internet, and I'll show you those here in a minute, and you just paste those in here, you're probably going to cut yourself off, and you won't be able to do anything with your bucket anymore. So be very careful when you're working with bucket policies, and be sure to try them out in the sandbox environment first. But let's take a look at some of these examples and where we can find them. So anywhere where we can set the encryption properties themselves, either on a file or on the bucket, you will notice that there are a couple of learn mores. And these pages have some examples of policies that will help us enforce some of our decisions. So let's go with this one here, since we're using SSE KMS. And if we just scroll down here, so here is an example of a policy that will require us to use SSE KMS when we actually write that file. And you can see that this applies on the action of put object. You might put some other actions in there, right? Maybe there's a different action for editing the object or something like that. And then you can also see down here that they give us some additional consideration that we can use the server-side encryption AWS KMS key ID condition to actually specify our customer master key that must be used when we are applying encryption. So that would allow us to enforce the use of the encryption settings using the CMK that we actually want. There is also another bucket policy that is helpful to keep in mind as well, which is to require the use of HTTPS, because buckets can be accessed via HTTP. Sure, they default to HTTPS, but they can be used by HTTP as well. And so you can see here that any access to our bucket will be denied if secure transport is not actually used. So these are two examples of bucket policies that can be used to enforce some of the security decisions that we've made on our buckets. And again, just a word of caution about using about generating policies. Be sure to test them in safe environments, so that if you do cut off part of your own access, at least you won't do that in production.